got a good one for you today, guys. We're going to take a look at the Q6600 again, but we're going to take a look at it with a full-size ATX board. Now, straight off the bat, I can probably tell that you've noticed something a little bit weird about this motherboard, particularly being the heatsink. And that's because in my testing of this video, or testing I did for this video, yeah, the motherboard wasn't great. The heatsink that was originally on there was having a bit of issues, so I jerry-rigged a better one onto it. So let's take a look at this, shall we? Alright, so let's dive into why I'm doing such a crazy project. And reality is Ryzen's here. Now, what this means for me is I've been waiting about 5 years for this to come out. This is like pre it even existing. I built the 5600K. It was kind of subpar, didn't have a lot of money at the time. And I've sort of been struggling with that for the last 5 years. Now, I'm going to do my Ryzen build in about a month. So around the start of April, that video will go up online. But in the meantime, I've decided to jump onto the Q6600 for a month, just to kind of get used to it and set it up as a secondary system. So let's go ahead and have a look at the specs that it's going to be. So obviously the CPU is Q6600. The motherboard is an Asus P5B. Now this is actually a pretty terrible choice on my part that I learned post getting the board, because it is a 965 chipset, so it's not even a 3 or a 4 series. In theory that should have been fine, but I had a lot of issues when I had the full 4 DIMMs of RAM, so 8GB RAM in it. And basically what it meant was my overclocks are limited to 3 GHz and the RAM is limited to 667 MHz. And then it's having weird issues in some of the benchmarks, which we'll go through. But I digress. Anyway, rest of the system, what are we running? Well, we're going to run the GTX 670. This is going to be a permanent system, so once it's in, that's it, it's done, it's finished. So the 670 is resting in that build finally. We're going to be running my hard drive, so 120GB SSD with a 500 and a 750GB mechanical hard drive, just for data and programs. We're going to have 3 120mm case fans in it. We're going to have 8GB of DDR2 RAM in it. We've nicked the heatsink off my old AMD build, which is a Silverstone AR2. Power supply is a 750 watt, and we're putting it in this behemoth of a case, which is going to be fun. So let's go ahead and put it together. Alright guys, so we're going to have a look now at pretty much the boot, and we're going to go through the BIOS, and then from there we're going to run through the benchmarks that are ran, and we'll go to the conclusion. So let's do it. Alright guys, so basically at the moment this is kind of the default BIOS settings right here. All the date and time's all correct from before. So basically I'm just going to go through and disable a few things. We'll speed this process up off in editing, I guess. Alright guys, so we're just going to go back into the BIOS and reset those last couple of settings that I couldn't change before, and then we'll go from there. Alright, let's have a look at the overclock I did. So, beginning of my pain, I guess. I really wanted this to be 400, and then just set that to 1.45. But, you know, with the older chipset that I'm using on this board, it has a lot of power draw issues. It also struggles to be stable at anything over that frontside bus. So that CPU frequency is the max. This RAM frequency, irritatingly, is not the maximum this RAM can do. It is 800 megahertz RAM, but unless I run it at 667 megahertz when it's all 4 DIMMs in, it will throw a tantrum. It won't run at that speed. Individually, it goes fine. So it makes no sense to me. I kind of just set these as that's the standard sort of frequencies. I just want to make sure it's running at that properly. I know to disable this, I have no idea what that does. That's again stock memory voltage. vCore, again, that's not standard vCore, but that's what I run to keep the chip stable. And that is 0.1 of a volt higher on the standard frontside bus basically. So that's my overclock settings, and we're pretty much done with the BIOS, so let's go ahead and check out those benchmarks. Alright guys, so with the benchmarks, what we're going to do is we're going to have two different CPUs, so the Q6600 and the 5600K, and the Q6600 we're going to display the three different configs we run it at. So the 3.2 gigahertz overclock from last week's video. We'll put that up against the stock speed with 8 GB RAM from this week, and of course the 3 gigahertz overclock from this week as well. Main difference between the two different weeks was the 8 GB of RAM. Now, with Fallout 4, you'll kind of notice on the graph here that there's not a whole lot of difference at the 3 gigahertz and 3.2. However, the minimum is slightly higher, and I would put that to the 8 GB RAM, giving it a little bit more room to play. Moving to Doom, it's the same thing again. We see the average drop, but the minimum is higher. And again, like I said, that RAM will make a difference, especially in games like Doom where there's a lot going on. With GTA, continuation again, we see the maximum frames drop, but again, the minimums maintain. And it was a lot smoother this time through. With F1 2015, this is the outlier of the test, and I did a bit of testing with this, and I took out 2 of the sticks and ran it at 4 gig, and all of a sudden the results were up where they were supposed to be. So that's the motherboard issues I was referring to earlier. With Battlefield 1, basically the clock speed did make a bit of a difference, and of course the RAM again helping the 3 GHz overclock. With the Unigine Valley, we saw the RAM advantage disappear, and it just came down to raw clock speed. And of course you can see the disparity, slight disparity between the 3.2 and the 3 there. With Cinebench, again, it is just straight raw CPU, only difference being in the OpenGL, but otherwise pretty much very similar down to clock speeds again. And of course with the Ryzen Blender run, again, same thing, just pure clock speed. That RAM doesn't make a difference. So let's roll on to the conclusion. Alright guys, so conclusion time. Overall, I'd say the project was a success. I had some initial disappointment in the sense that I couldn't get the overclock that I wanted. Knowing that CPU had it in it, and with a better cooler on it, I expected to get more. But that just wasn't going to happen. So I guess lessons learned for you guys. I mean, obviously as a gaming machine at 3 gigahertz and that RAM in its weird specification, it'll still do everything. And the main takeaway for you guys is just if you can pick up a 775 board, drop 8 gig of RAM in it, and drop this Q6600 in it, be a brilliant machine. Off camera, the editing that I did for half of this video was fantastic. I had no issues with Premiere, it ran quite well. So overall I'd say it's a success. Obviously I'm going to use it for a month and get a full gauge of what it's good at, what it's terrible at, and then we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, guys. Give this one a like if you liked it, give it a dislike if you disliked it. Leave a comment down the bottom if you have anything to ask or say or hate or love. Whatever it is, and I look forward to the Ryzen build that's upcoming, and I hope you guys do too. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.